Hello and welcome back to the one and only X-Files Revisited, where we will be talking about the season finale for season 4, episode 24, Gethsemane. Brian, tell us a little bit about the legacy of this one.
Yeah, so mythology. Final episode. I feel like I say the same thing at the end of every season. It's the final episode of the season. There's always that thing that you know the studio could decide they're not renewing at the last minute. So whenever you get a final episode of a season, it could very well be the final episode. Now I know they were already talking about and thinking about the movie at this point. They knew it was going to happen. They knew it was coming. So there wasn't too much of a scare that we weren't going to be coming back for another season. But had we not, well, this would have been made for a very interesting last episode. So mythology-wise, it's quite a key episode. Deals with a lot of stuff that it gets down to it. Gets down to the nitty-gritty of things like Scully's cancer and Mulder's beliefs and this, that, and the other. Let's get into it. I will say as well, it does owe a debt, and I said this way back when, but it does owe a debt, I think, to Darren Morgan and what he did with Jose Chung's From Outer Space, which is not the most likely not the most likely X-Files episode that you would pair this one up with, but I'll get into it more when we get into the episode. But do you care to hazard a guess as to where amongst the 217 episodes this fits in the IMDb ranking?
Yeah, now I feel this is a bit of a tough one because I have no idea where this is going after this episode. And I've got a feeling it's a continuation, so it may put this one higher. But I'm going to wonder if the fans are a bit perturbed by this episode. So I'm going to go lowball on this one.
Okay.
I'll go for 56.
56. And you lowballed a little bit too much, I'm afraid. It's 31.
Right.
So that's quite high, I think. It's
yeah, but for a finale where they're normally quite strong,
yeah,
I feel as if that's a slow down. So we'll get into it and talk about it.
Okay. All right then. So opening sequence, we've got Scully IDing a body at Mulder's apartment. It's kind of like it's a whole sequence that kind of cuts to various things going on as Scully gives like a bit of a testimony. She's testifying at a hearing led by none other than Section Chief Blevins. Remember him? Way back from... No, you don't. So this was the dude right in the pilot episode who essentially hired Scully to debunk Mulder's work on the X-Files. So when she's talking to the guy in the office and then you've got Cancer Man stood in the background, well, Blevins was the guy in the pilot episode that Scully was talking to. I think he did pop up at one other point, maybe. I could be wrong on that, but I'm sure he popped up one more time, but could be wrong. But certainly he's back here anyway. You have to be a die-hard fan to know that one. He's not exactly been a prominent figure since his debut. So, yeah. So she says that Mulder's work was illegitimate and he became victim to the biggest of lies. Who's in Mulder's apartment? Who's in Mulder's apartment?
Yeah. Well, Brian, I've spent countless years and time wasted in front of the TV, and it's not Mulder. I know that immediately from the start. It's apparent to me. I don't even need to see the body. It's not Mulder. Let's just move on by that. Scully's giving this big scathing report on Mulder. It's all a sham. She's up to something. Coming from, there's like a big cover's going to be pulled away at the end of this and reveal Mulder there with an alien in his arm or something. It's a big setup. It's leading us left when we should be going right here. Yeah, not buying it. Not buying a single thing here.
I think a little bit of temperance is in order, because I think it does sit somewhere in the middle of that. I think maybe a little more to one side than the other, but there is certain things in here that are
But it's not the TV show. It's the perception of the viewer, because I've watched so many shows, because he's the main character. Because I've spent 4 seasons with Scully. Like I don't see her doing any of this, so I'm projecting onto it.
So we go from there to a bunch of scientists landing in the Yukon to take a look at an alien frozen in the ice.
Yep.
So we get some nice kind of big budget helicopter shots that make it look quite movie-esque. Scully at the hearing says that Mulder had been contacted by a scientist who claimed to have found proof of an extraterrestrial biological entity. She believes it to have been a lie designed to keep them believing in a much larger lie that she is there to expose. Which brings me to Darren Morgan's Jose Chung from Outer Space. So you'll remember in that episode, which I believe was your favourite of the season, of season 3, what we have is alien, government agents dressed as aliens performing an alien abduction, who then get abducted by aliens.
Yeah.
And we never quite know if the aliens who abduct the aliens are just the next level of that kind of construction to keep people believing. So that was played for laughs. Mm-hmm. Chris Carter says, actually, you're onto something there. We're going to run with that. Because that's what this is, essentially. So basically what this episode is asking us to buy into, the central conceit, is that everything Mulder believes in is a lie orchestrated by the government to misdirect us from the truth, which is basically the government owns us, government is controlling us, wants to do whatever they want to do with us, and if they can get us to believe in outer space aliens, whatever, then that only helps to divert our attention away from what they're really up to. So they use people like Mulder, who are quite high profile, who have a belief, and they concoct what we can only gather to be numerous, like basically everything in the X-Files that we see that has been alien, like alien greys and UFOs, flying saucers, all that kind of stuff. This episode is asking us to believe that it's all fake and it's all done by the government. Now, whether you want to get into your Tombses and your Donny Fasters and all that, I don't think it's asking us to buy that all that stuff is fake. I think it accepts that, okay, you're free to run with that as genuine supernatural stuff, but anything alien related, UFO related, it's all a scam, it's all a fix by the government, and they've used Mulder to perpetuate that lie. So that is the central conceit of the episode. Question is, how well did they pull it off?
I mean, I suppose we'll get to that. I do like quite a few aspects of this episode, a lot, but I feel I'm distracted by the ending.
Right.
But, I want to get there.
Yeah. Okay. So she talked about the scientists who found this supposed body. Scully's mum's house for the birthday party. So Bill shows up, Scully's brother, as does Father McHugh, much to Scully's consternation. So I think in official continuity, this is the first time we've seen Bill.
I believe so.
Right, yeah. Because I know he was in a scene from Memento Mori that got cut, which you can watch on the special features of the box set. So he did appear earlier on in the season, but obviously we don't count that scene because it was effectively wiped. So this is essentially our introduction to Bill Mulder. So Scully, yeah. Like, first of all, what's your first impressions of Bill, and how do you feel about Scully being sideswiped with regards to Father McHugh?
Like he comes in like the all-American quarterback kind of thing. Like he just kind of like rams into the party. He kind of takes over. Like he feels like almost the antithesis of Scully. You know, where she's kind of more reserved, she's more thought out. He seems more brash and straight in there. Yeah, I don't like him.
And it's funny because that tends to be the go-to reaction to Bill Mulder.
And then we get the inclusion
Scully,
of
I should say,
priest, who feels like a trap. Like, you know, like the mothers invited him over to like get her sat down and get her talking, stuff like that. And I think Scully's no idea. She knows exactly what it is, and if she felt ready to have that conversation, she would be having it. And now she feels kind of pushed into it and out of her comfort zone, almost in the defensive.
Yeah,
and she's a little short with him.
Yeah, she is. But it does set up the main theme of this episode, I think, which is essentially faith. Yeah. Whether that's a religious faith, faith in God, or whether it's another kind of belief system that you have. If you look at Mulder and Scully in this episode, they're both dealing with issues of faith. So yeah, I'll get into that a bit further a bit more as we go on. And yeah, I called Bill Scully Bill Mulder, so I know somebody's going to point that one out. So don't worry, I noticed. It was a mistake. Get over it. So Father McHugh tries to talk Scully into coming back to her faith. She says it's not necessary. Okay. So Bill tells Scully that she has a phone call. It's Mulder. Says a Dr. Arlinsky has something to show them. Bill does not look happy.
Yeah. And we don't care, do we?
No. You get the sense of, like, I will, for the sake of trying to be objective, looking at it from Bill Scully's point of view, he doesn't really know this guy Mulder. All he knows about him is what has been told, which is and what he can see. And I think we've probably all done this, where there's someone we know and love, and trusts a lot of themselves to another person that we don't really know a lot about, but what we do know doesn't particularly make us warm to them. And yes, I kind of think Bill is a bit douchey here, but I do also, I can relate to that. His sister is dying. His sister's got cancer, and she can see that this guy, her partner, is calling her up to come traipsing off with her on another adventure, when in actual fact she should probably be in a hospital getting medical attention. That's the way he views it. So I can understand his douchery towards Mulder, and the only reason that he becomes a douche is because we know Mulder, we love Mulder, we're with Scully on that, so it instantly makes us think, this guy. But But
you get that little moment of duality when she picks up the phone, where she can't really be bothered with Mulder at this point as well, like his new adventure. There's this guy, what is it? You need to come and see it. Like that kind of like surprise. And then looking at the party and going, almost weighing it up as to go, what's the lesser of these two evils? I'll be there. Like,
Yeah. So reluctantly.
yeah.
Okay, so we go to the Smithsonian, and Mulder tells Scully that Arlinsky was implicated in a photo doctoring scam a few years back, but still professes his innocence. So we cut to a photo of an alien in the ice. Mulder tries to be skeptical, but Arlinsky says he has ice core samples that cannot be faked. He wants Mulder to help him get the body out so he can authenticate it before people in the government take over. So, yeah, I like here that Mulder is trying to be skeptical, and he acknowledges the fact that Arlinsky has already been implicated in a scam.
Yeah, but it's that feeling that he's almost saying all the right things, but regardless to what this guy shows him, he's following him. Like he's like, he has that draw to it. He can't help but follow.
I feel like a lot of it is Mulder's so used to Scully picking stuff apart that he's outlining it right from the get-go, so that it's like, look, just hear me out. I already know this guy has scammed before, or at least been accused of scamming before. I get it. Just let's just hear him out, kind of thing. So it's like prep for that, really. But okay. So Scully tells Mulder that she has no opinion. Mulder gets defensive and asks if someone could prove the existence of God, would that be worth seeking? Her answer, only if it had been disproven. Faith is required. It takes faith to look for proof. So that's kind of my note there. It's this idea that in order to look for proof, you almost have to have faith to begin with.
I like Scully's argument here, because I feel like what it's saying is, if you've got faith, you don't need proof. And if you have proof, then that's just the fact. It's not faith.
Yeah.
You know, so like it's the one negates the other. So like if you have faith, you don't need proof. If you get the proof, then it's a fact.
It's like this idea that, look, if you have to find the proof for it, then it's not faith. It's like, but I think the flip side of that is that if you believe something, you have faith that is true. Then if you truly believe that is the truth, you want everyone else to know that. Like if you believe in God, if you believe God is real, and if you believe that people's salvation it can only be met through a specific route to God, then you would want people to know that. You would do your damnedest to try and get people on board. So in order to try and...
But at the same time as well, it's like if you have belief in a higher power and you have to prove that to other people to believe it, then they're not believing it through faith and trust. They're just believing it because of what you're showing them. Do you know what I mean? They're not... Yeah,
I get what you mean. It's like a snake eating its own tail, basically.
Almost.
It's like...
Yes, you're going to convince these people that it's real, but they're still not going to have the faith that you had beforehand.
Yeah. It's just... For me, it's the most interesting scene of this episode, because it sets up this conflict between Mulder and Scully, whereby they are essentially in the same position, just regarding different things. This is a matter of faith for both of them. Scully's going through her kind of crisis type thing with regards to, Does she need God? Does she still even believe in God? And then you've got Mulder, who at the minute he totally believes in what he believes in. There's no real crisis of faith there. He believes it wholeheartedly, and he wants everyone else to believe it, which kind of sets up the ending really for this, which you know, where is this heading for Mulder? And it is that idea that it's I act like I don't want to spoil something, but we're going to spoil it when we get to it anyway. So it's that idea that if your belief system, if the thing you had faith in could be proven to be false, would you cease to have meaning, to have purpose? Yeah. Which again, yeah, I just think it's a very interesting through line for the whole episode, which is that these two people are defined so much by what it is they believe in and what it is they're searching for, that if you found the answer to that and it wasn't the answer you wanted, how would that turn your world upside down, kind of thing. So Scully, so we go back to the panel where Scully's kind of telling this story, and she tells the panel that she doesn't have long left. She's literally found out that she's on her last legs with regards to the cancer. Scientists cut through the ice. A man called Babcock loads his gun, much to the surprise of one of the guys he's talking to. One guy finds what looks like holes made by poles in the side of the ice that houses the body, which is like, how did they get there?
Yeah, which I didn't quite get, because I just thought it was the core samples.
So the way I understand it is, like, if this is a fake, which I actually believe it is, you know, on this particular occasion anyway, then they've had to get that in there somehow. And how they've got it in there is as a big ice block, and they've obviously had poles in the ice to carry it. Boom, you dump it down, pull them out, slide it into the wall, and hey presto, there you go. But that's kind of evidence of, effectively, that it's been manufactured, that it's been carried there, kind of like the Ark in Raiders of the Lost Ark. So so scientists examine the core samples. They find evidence of chimera cells in them, which again kind of could lean both ways at this point, because we know that we think we know that in previous X-Files episodes there have been experiments with, you know, alien human hybrids, that kind of thing. Or it could simply be that this thing was built in a lab for the sake of of the fakery. So a team of scientists are executed at the site where Babcock is. Shock horror. And then Mulder and Arlinsky arrive in a helicopter. When they get there, there's no signs of life, and they find the guide that was supposed to meet them dead halfway up the hill. So not looking good for them. And yet they carry on making their way up there. I'd be like, yeah, no, I think let's call
for backup. Hot drink or something.
So Scully has a run-in with a man stealing the ice core sample. She gets knocked down a flight of stairs as a result of it. And Mulder reaches the summit with Arlinsky. They find the alien body gone and all the men dead, except for shock horror Babcock. He tells them he buried the body, presumably before the hitman came for them, which
that is a massive weight of ice. Like, how the hell did you get that into?
I'm assuming at this point, like by the time they'd gone to bed that night, I'm assuming they'd got it out of the ice.
Yeah, and done it as a team.
Yeah. So but it is a bit like, really? What's
like everybody exactly hit the paranoia? Just like, but let's just, like, somebody could be coming to steal this, but let's just go to sleep anyway. Like unarmed.
Yeah. So Bill goes to see Scully at the hospital and says she has a responsibility to the people in her life. She should have told him. She says she's being responsible. He asks to who? This Mulder. Where is he through all this? To which, again, trying to be objective whilst also thinking he is a bit of a douche, I can kind of see his point. Like if I was seeing things from his side, given what she's just said, given everything she's gone through for this partner of hers, I would be stood there thinking, my sister's in the hospital, she's dying, she's not got much time left. Where is this dude? He's had a running around on his wild goose chase. She's been knocked down the stairs. Where the hell is he? Again, I can't help but get that douchey feel from him, but being objective, I do have to kind of side with him, really, if I think about it logically. But it does raise that question of responsibility, which we've had previously with Mrs. Scully. So if you remember back in Memento Mori, she kind of come in and she proper freaked out. We had a whole discussion about was she overreacting or what? And again, trying to be objective in that, I didn't think she was overreacting. And I feel like this is kind of almost like a rehash of that sequence, but from
but it almost feels like her family want her to just jump into bed and die. Do you know what I mean? Like they just like she's wanting to go on with her life and continue doing something.
Yeah.
And they just want her to like almost lie down and give up. Which I love.
It's almost like they've already accepted she's dead.
Yeah.
So they want her to get into bed and die, so that they can have the grieving process. And it's like, well, okay, it's not about you. It's about Scully, and she's got things she wants to do. So
I do like that he comes in with a fresh set of clothes for her, and then he starts having a go, and she just continues to get dressed in the clothes that are bloodstained and dishevelled, almost as if just stick your clothes, that kind of like attitude.
Shove them up your ass. So Mulder and Arlinsky get the body back and thaw it. Yeah. So they retrieve the body, get it back to wherever it is.
Lab. Yeah. Is that when they bring it back in the truck?
Yeah, it's basically a warehouse, in it.
It's a warehouse,
yeah. Kind of looks like the same warehouse that was used for Erlenmeyer flask.
Just yes.
Yeah. So Scully, with the help of fingerprint analyst, identifies her attacker as Michael Krichgau, a government employee.
Now, I'm torn on this one because I like the fact they've used good old-fashioned detective work and tracked this guy down. And I'm also upset that they tracked him down so easily. Like, this guy has just fingerprints that leads to him. Like, I just feel as if he's kind of Black Ops almost. He should be off the system. But,
It's just I don't think he was really expecting to get caught. That's the thing.
No.
It was just like a pretty easy job. You go in, you grab the core samples, you walk out. It's just that Scully kind of caught him doing it. So.
Yeah.
And then we get into an alien autopsy.
Yeah.
Which, again, is very reminiscent of the Fox Network alien autopsy that was kind of a big deal back in the early 90s.
Yeah.
But Mulder's like proper like, oh, baby. He's kind of looking through the camera. He's like, oh, come on.
It's really gory as well. It's quite, I like it. Yeah, bloody icky. It seemed very humanoid, the way they were kind of, with the chest plate and the organs where they were and things like that. It seemed very similar.
So Scully captures Critchgow, who says that if she arrests him, he'll be killed by the same people who gave her cancer, which is kind of like a bit of a knockout punch for. Ooh, go right for the jugular, why don't you?
And it's like an open secret amongst all government agents. Like everybody knows.
Yeah. So Arlinsky says it is alien. He's absolutely convinced. 100%, unequivocally, absolutely, definitely alien. Positively, maybe. So, at the hearing, Scully says Mulder was ready to believe. But she says Mulder was being used to perpetuate a lie in order to cover up a greater one. Critchgow detailed it to her.
Which then makes you think, was the fingerprints planted so that she would find him and be told this story? And becomes a case of what's going on.
Literally everything in this could go either way. It's so well planted in that regard. The seeds that are laid down, they're all well planted, because every single one of them could be either or. They never. And I do think the X-Files on the whole has done a good job of this when it comes to the alien conspiracy stuff. Like if you go back to, if you remember the two-parter Nisai and 731, and we had like Mulder and Scully going off on separate trains of investigation. No pun intended there, because that did end up on a train. But basically you got to the end of that two-parter and it could very well have been just human beings that had been experimented on, very much in the way that the Nazis did with people in the Second World War, or it could be aliens, and it really never gave you definitive answers. And I think the closest we've come to being undeniably alien is the oil slick alien, but even that, to a degree, could be seen as just government experiment. So there's no guarantee that it's alien. Arlinsky is killed by the hitman who was working with Babcock. Because I didn't see that coming. Babcock just seems so trustworthy to me.
Once he's finished the next stage of the city lie, I guess, it's time to take everybody out and get rid of the body and all that.
So Critchgow tells Mulder everything he doesn't want to hear. Says the body is already long gone and he was only meant to see it, which is essentially true. It's what's happened. He's seen the body, he's been convinced it's alien, and then they've killed everyone involved and taken the body. So it's all it's done is just really give Mulder a much stronger fervour for his quest. So my question, I guess, is that can you buy it? If this is the direction the series goes in, where it's saying that actually it's all a lie perpetuated by the government, could you buy it from here on out?
I don't know. I really don't. I mean, there's enough. Again, it comes down to faith of the viewer, almost, like, because there is enough evidence to say yes, enough evidence to say no, enough in the grey, the maybe. Like you can't. There's nothing definitive on any stage. There's all plausible avenues to travel, and I think with that many plausible avenues, you've got this kind of deniability of the truth. So,
Okay, so Mulder finds the body gone, Arlinsky and Babcock dead. Mulder still refuses to believe Critchko, but Scully calls him out with his own words, because it's easier to believe the lie. You always have to choose. You always need faith, no matter what the evidence. Sometimes the evidence is just convenient. So that was my takeaway from that. So Mulder asks Scully why she's suddenly so eager to believe Critchko. She says he told her they gave her cancer to make Mulder believe, which is another gut punch. Because if that's true, it's like... But yeah, my biggest takeaway from this, I'll just read that again, because she does throw his words back in his face about it being easier to believe the lie. He said that when he believed he was on the side of truth. But now that it looks like his whole worldview is crumbling down, he's still not willing to let go of it. So she says, yeah, because it's easier to believe the lie, which does highlight that key component of faith, which the two of us discussed earlier, which is that sometimes the evidence is just convenient. No matter what the evidence, faith is faith. And yeah, you can find evidence to back your faith up, but ultimately it's not the defining thing for your faith. And to me, that's true. That's what true faith is about. It's about, well, you have that belief, so, and it's unshakable. No matter what evidence gets thrown at it or gets taken away, it's a matter of faith. So I think it highlights that Mulder's quest is a matter of faith for him, to a large degree. So, okay, so we get Mulder sitting at home watching a 1972 discussion panel on extraterrestrial life. Tears roll down his cheeks. Scully tells the panel that late last night, Agent Mulder died from an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. To which we go out.
Yeah.
Now,
back in, when did this air? 96, maybe?
Yes. I think, yes.
And if no one knew that another season was coming, what a bleak ending.
Oh.
Scully has cancer and will die, and Mulder's just shot himself in the head because everything was a lie.
Yeah.
Love it.
I do. Yeah, I do. So I mentioned, I don't know if I mentioned this at the end of the last episode or whether I just mentioned it to you in private. But when I look at this in the context of what if this had been the last episode? Now, as much as I don't want to see my heroes in this position, I don't want to see Mulder taking his own life. I don't want to see Scully dying of cancer. What a ballsy ending that would have been.
Yeah.
There is finality there. There is a it wraps everything up.
Yeah.
You know, if you didn't continue the series from here, this is the end. It wraps everything up. Basically, everything Mulder believes in with regards to aliens, UFOs, is a lie, orchestrated by the government to distract the populace from what they're really up to. And what they're really up to is experiments on humans and all kinds of stuff where they can just literally give someone cancer a la Scully. And so that's a whole thesis really for governments in the world and how they treat the people. And it's a really bleak statement. It's a really bleak ending, but I can't deny that as an ending, it flipping works.
Oh, it's awesome. It was one of those endings where it finished up and I just kind of sat with the screen black thinking about it for a few minutes, and I was like, this is fitting. This work. I mean, it's the darkest of dark endings. Man, it works incredibly well. Now, I don't for a minute think that Chris Carter ever thought there wouldn't be a season 5 and there wouldn't be a wrap up to this.
Yeah.
But even with that knowledge, still to go as bleak and as dark, a season finale, like I wish I could remember what the chatter was back when that happened, because I think a lot of people would have been outraged, properly outraged with this.
Yeah, it's just.
But my sensibilities, wow, it just hits.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, even back then when I think when I watched this, I watched it first on the video where it was all edited together as one movie. So I got my answer pretty much straight away. And I used to do a lot of reading up and stuff. I knew Duchovny was coming back for season 4. So obviously, something else is up. But for me, the biggest takeaway was this whole idea of everything Mulder believes in being a lie. And it's like, well, okay, let's roll with that for a second. If that bit of the episode is true, then what does that do to Mulder's journey? Where's that going to take him? Because there's still stuff to expose there. If people are being lied to about aliens and that, in the sense that it is all a lie, then that is still a truth that needs to be outed. So
have you seen? Just while we're at the end of this one, just before we wrap up, have you seen Jacob's Ladder?
I have, yeah.
Right, and you know the whole conceit of that story. Like you could conceivably see every season from 5 onwards as being that.
Yes.
And I don't want to see it in case anybody's not seen Jacob's Ladder, but like conceivably everything from this point onwards could be a Jacob's Ladder scenario.
Yeah. But it's definitely. It's very interesting, and despite that feeling of kind of knowing that that's Mulder's not dead, it's still got some pretty big gut punches in there. Like, from an emotional standpoint, Mulder being told that actually Scully was given the cancer to make him believe that's quite a swipe, quite a gut punch. But wrap ups, go on. I'll let you go.
I think this is. I like this episode, and I like what it's deconstructing the whole X-Files almost. The finale, like I've just said, is phenomenal. To even attempt something like that is bold. To see the battle of faiths and the argument of faith within this one was really quite interesting as well. Like I don't have anything to fault this with at all. I just thought it was pretty terrific from the start to the finish. Even the balls to just say that it was Mulder that was dead at the end of it. Like I said at the start of this one, I was just like, that's not Mulder.
Yeah,
it's not. Yeah. So 5 out of 5 for me. Pretty great TV.
Yeah, like by the end of the episode, it does give you every reason to believe that it's Mulder, and it is one of them things where you go away from it thinking, I'm dying to know what the explanation for this is. Like, I don't believe that's Mulder, but what other possible explanation is there? What is this? What's going on? So I need to know. But 5 out of 5 from me. I think across this season on the whole, the mythology episodes haven't actually been that great. No. I think Memento Mori was a standout, and I think Tempus Fugit and Max were pretty great, but they kind of almost felt like a separate entity. They weren't really mythology stuff. Like, you could take them out and it wouldn't really make much of an impact on the whole mythology. But yeah, Herrenvolk and Tunguska, Terma, they were a bit, okay. Yeah. This one to me is like, yes, this is why I like the mythology stuff. When it's like this, when it's on form, it looks like this. So yeah, 5 out of 5 from me.
Yeah, so we've finished season 4. Next week we've got the super fun episode, which is our top 5, bottom 5. I really enjoy these discussions. They're always super fun. We're going to look back at season 4, and we're going to have a little look forward to season 5 to see what it's going to bring. To see if there even is a season 5, Brian, after this finale. It should be fun. I do personally love these top 5, bottom 5 episodes. So join us for that. It should be fun.
And do leave your comments in the bottom of this video as to... In fact, I don't think I can put a poll on the X-Files channel, actually. I don't think we have the ability yet. But I'll try and put a post up just asking people to give us your top 5s and your bottom 5s, and then we'll read them out in the midpoint of next week's episode. So.
And if we don't get to you in that episode, we'll get to you at some point with your top 5s and bottom 5s, depending when you see this. Yeah. So we appreciate it. So thanks for watching or listening, whichever you choose. We appreciate it, and we will see you next time on the X-Files Revisited.